Well, hello, this is Kate with Kate's Paper Creations, and I'm here with another blast from the past. And this time I'm using a stamp set called Special Someone. It's a carryover, and it's in the current catalog, but it's a carryover from a previous catalog, and so I'm going to reintroduce people to it, and we will make a cute card with it today. So it's going to be what I call a diagonal accordion fold card. Diagonal accordion fold card. So it opens up like this. Isn't that cute? Okay, so let me show you how we made that card. Start with a piece of Bumblebee. This is one of the new in colors that we have. And you're going to take this and cut it 5.5 by 8.5, and then you're going to put it in portrait position like this and measure up to this mark here, which is at 2 inches, and then you're going to turn it and you're going to put a mark here which is at 4.25 inches from this left edge. And I drew a line here just for your viewing to see it, but you wouldn't draw a line. You would just put the 2 little dots there because you don't really need to draw a line. But then you're going to take it and put it in your cutter and get it in the picture here, and you're going to line up that dot and that dot on the cutting line and get it lined up just right like that. And get my blade back down here, and we're going to cut it off, and that's going to get rid of that piece. Then we're going to score it, and we're going to score it at 4.25. And then I turned it around to make it easier for me, because I am going to score it at 2 1/8, like that. Which is half of 4.25, so that it creates the basic base card, just like that. Let me get my bone folder here so we can give that a good burnishing. And there's the base card. And then you can come back with your pencil and eraser and erase those little tiny marks. Okay, let's set that aside. Okay, the next thing we need to do after we get the base card cut and set up is to cut the designer series paper. And to do that, you need a piece of paper that is cut 4 by 5.25. This particular piece comes from the Flowers for Every Season paper pack. It is a 6 by 6 paper pack, and it's in the current catalog. And you're going to put that piece in what I call portrait mode, or landscape mode, excuse me, and measure up 1 3/4 inches and just put a small mark right at the 1 3/4 inch. I've already done that. Then you're going to bring in the cutter, and you are going to put this mark and the top left corner on the cut line, on the cut section of your paper trimmer. And well, I moved it there, just a minute. Here we go. And you're going to cut that off, and that creates the basic, get a hold of it here, the basic shape that's going to go on the front of the card like that. Okay, then you want to take this piece, and I'm going to use this center measurement guide on my paper trimmer. I'm going to make sure it's in the picture good. There we go. And the first section, you want to come over 1 7/8 inches. So 1 7/8 is right there. And the way you can keep it straight is to just make sure it lines up perfect with that guide and cut. That's your first long section that's going to go on your card. And then this next section, you have to take a 1/4 inch out of the middle. If you take it off of either side, then your angle won't line up properly. So now you want to take a 1/4 inch off of that centerpiece, and that's right there. And that one's pretty easy because there's a 1/4 inch line all the way up here. So you just got to get it on there straight, put that down and cut that. And then that gives you the second piece for your designer series paper section that's going to go on your card. And I just applied it by, with just regular Tombow, and you just line it up the bottom first with so you've got that 1/8 inch gap, and the rest just falls into place like that. And same thing with this one, you just line it up so it matches at the bottom, and it will come up and leave the gap at the top like you want it to. So there's that, and that's what it'll look like. Okay? So the next thing we have to do is to cut the white panels that are going to go on the inside of the card. Now this is not what I would typically do. It wouldn't have all these lines on it when I start to measure it out. They're just here to kind of show you what areas you're cutting and what distances and so on. But I'll show you with the cutter what I do. First of all, I took the card, and this is Whisper White Regular, and it is cut to 5 1/4 by 8 1/2. Yeah. And then I put it in portrait mode like this, and I measured up 1 3/4 to here and put a small mark. You won't put these lines in, just put a little tiny mark there. Then I turned it this way, and I measured over 4 inches, and I put a little tiny mark there. And then we're going to cut that. And the way we do that, get my trimmer so that you can see it really good. Get it in the picture here. And you're going to line up this mark and the 4 inch mark on the cutting line in your cutter, just like that. And we're going to cut it off. That creates the diagonal that you need. Now we're going to cut this, and I'm going to use this center measurement line because it's got this edge that I can't use at the top, and I don't want to have to turn it over. So I am going to use this center measurement guide, and I want to come from the left edge over 1 7/8 inch. So I put it on the 1 7/8 inch, and you can see there's a line here to keep it all straight. So we're going to do that and rest it on that line, and we're going to cut 1 7/8, and there's the small panel that we will be using for the card. Then I'm going to take 1/4 inch off. And the reason I'm taking the 1/4 inch out of the middle is because if you don't, your angles won't line up right on your card when you mount them. So it has to come out of the middle between these two pieces. That's a piece you can discard or whatever. Then this piece is also 1 7/8. So we'll put it on the 1 7/8 inch line. Make sure it's square with the world. See there it is. And we will cut it again, and that'll make the second panel right there. And then we're going to take this one, and it's a 4 inch piece, 4 inch wide, just like a standard what you'd put on the inside of your card, leaving that 1/8 inch border all around. So you're taking off that extra 1/2 inch, and there's your 4 inch piece. So that's what you need to make the inside panels for the card, those 3 pieces, just like that. Okay, let's go on to the next step. Okay, the next step is to do the stamping, and as I said, I used the Special Someone stamp set because it worked so well to have a little creature for each of the panels. And we're going to start with the little mouse. These are two-step stamps, so they have two parts, a detailed, a fill-in part, and then I'm going to have the flower as well. So I stamped the little mouse with gray. I'm just being conventional, I guess. Mice are usually gray in my mind. So I'm going to stamp the detailed portion of the little mouse kind of towards the bottom and the right corner, and it's stamped in full strength. And then the next little fill-in one I am going to stamp off once and then put it on here. So there's my little mouse, and then I've got him holding a flower, and I wanted to color the stem green and the flower yellow, so I'm using Garden Green and Bumblebee, one of the new colors. And I'm going to paint the flower with the bumblebee. If you just kind of lay your marker on its side, you can color that stamp just fine. And then I'm going to color the stem. And I want it to look like he's holding that flower. And so I'm going to line it up so it looks like it's coming out of his hand and stamp it on there. And so there's the little mouse. And then I added some little butterflies from the stamp set using the Misty Moonlight. And it's got two really cute little butterflies in there. One there. So there is panel number 1. Then in panel number 2, I used the squirrel. And for the squirrel, I used soft suede. And again, I stamped the detailed one in soft suede, full strength. And he's kind of just centered on there, like that. And then the fill-in part, again, soft suede, but stamped off once and then stamped on. Reminds me of that Karate Kid show, wipe on, wipe off, if you're young enough to remember, or old enough to remember that, I should say. Okay, the next one is another flower that's in the set, a little bit bigger, and for this one I used Melon Mambo and Old Olive for the flower and the stem. So we'll color the stem and the flower. And again, I want it to look like he's holding it, so it's going to go across his body. I'm going to move it however I have to so I can see where I'm putting it. And looks like it's in his paw and then comes up across his body like that. I wanted that stem to be just a little bit darker, so I came back with my marker and colored that in just a little bit more like that. And there's the little guy, and then I'm going to put some butterflies on this one. You can put as many or as few as you want. And there's the butterflies for that one. So there's panel 2. And then for the final panel that goes on the inside of the card, I used Memento Black to do the raccoon. And for the dark part, for the detailed part I should say, put him down towards the bottom right corner of the card. Let's get that so you make sure you can see it. And I did the detailed part full strength. And then I, oops, get the other one, get the fill and stamped it off. And then stamped it on here. And it just gives him that finished look. It's so cute. Then he's going to be holding a balloon. So I stamped the balloon string in his hands, coming up out of his hands, kind of like that. And then the balloon I did with crushed curry. And again, I did the detailed one full strength. Oops, got some ink there I don't want to get on anything. So there's full strength for the balloon, and then the fill of the balloon stamped off. And there's the balloon. Then the sentiments, I already lined them up. This balloon is special. It's filled with helium, which I just love. And I'm going to stamp that with Memento Black as well. And I just stamped it up here in the corner like that. And then I thought a couple of butterflies would be cute there. So I added one here. And I added one here. And there's the panel for that card, for that piece. So then they're ready to mount. And again, I did the same thing with these that I did with the other card. I'm going to start by mounting this one first. And it should line up with that 1/8 inch border all the way around. Looks pretty good there. Get that stuff out of my way. And then the next panel will go on here, and we'll just line it up the same way. Oh, ran out of tape. And again, I can line it up side to side, and the bottoms we want kind of even. And there's panel 2. I've been needing some get well cards lately, so a dear friend of mine just had a stroke. Okay, so there is the card ready to send. Isn't that lovely? Now I want to let you know that I did use my Silhouette Cameo, even though I showed you all the instructions for cutting. If you own a Silhouette Cameo or a Cricut or something like that, I have created the files for the card, not the pictures, of course, but just the card shape and the panels. I have made a cut file for all of those, and they are available for purchase through me if you want to contact me about that. It's $3 for all the files that will cut the base card, the white panels, and the DSP panels. And you can do that by emailing me or messaging me, and we'll connect so that you can get those, and I can provide them in either the SVG or Silhouette Cameo format. Okay, I also hope that you will subscribe to my blog, and also check out katespapercreations.org. I'm just now getting my blog back up and running, and I hope you will visit and subscribe if you haven't yet. I'd love to have lots of people checking out what I make. I love to share what I do. Thank you very much.